Within 6 days, less than a week, you can drop 31% of the fat from your liver. I'm going to show you how. Do you have to get an MRI at the hospital? No. Do you have to get an ultrasound? Not necessarily. There are simple things you can do to know if you have fatty liver. If you have belly fat, what that fat is, it's called visceral fat, and that is fat that's spilled over from your liver filling up with fat. One of the challenges when you go to the doctor with fatty liver is they will tell you just to lose weight. That is not necessarily the best advice. I'm going to give you much better advice because a fatty liver is not a fat problem. It's a liver problem. And you have to know what to do to remove the fat off the liver. And out of all the parts of your body that are fat, the liver will shed the fat the fastest, which is the good news. The bad news, well, there's actually not bad news if you understand how to do it. So I'm going to get into it right now. You don't get a fatty liver from just eating fat. You get it from eating a very specific type of sugar called fructose, mainly. The unique thing about fructose is that it can really only be metabolized by your liver, whereas glucose can be broken down and used by all of your cells. So when you consume fructose, it can only be dealt with from this liver. And if you're consuming a lot of it, it can really not just fill up the liver with fat, it can damage the liver itself. So in other words, fructose can be converted to fat in the liver. And then it creates damage, inflammation, and then that's what leads to the scar tissue. You know, we've been taught for 40 years to avoid fat, avoid red meat, told that we can actually do more carbohydrates and juice and pasta and cereals and crackers and biscuits. It was part of our food pyramid in the 90s. Very bad advice because that is what caused a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's coming from the carbohydrates. And what's really wild about this is when you do an ultrasound or an MRI on the liver, they can detect how much that liver is filled with fat. But the good news is if you can catch it in time, there's a way to remove that fat extremely fast. But if you really don't know what to do, the fat will come right back and cause the same problem. But I'm going to show you what to do. There was a study put out by PNAS. Researchers took people with a fatty liver and put them on a very specific diet for less than a week, just 6 days. Measured their livers with an MRI before and after. Less than a week later, the liver fat had dropped on average by 31%. And you don't need to go get an MRI at this point. But by the end of this video, you'll know what to do, you'll know what to eat, you'll know what to avoid. But this is not about losing weight. This is about knowing what to do to turn down the dial of this fat dumping into the liver. Now, there's 3 simple ways to determine if you have fat in the liver. I've already mentioned the belly, okay? If your belly is protruded, but also the back of your neck. If you look in the mirror and you can look in the back of your neck, if your neck is darker or it feels very velvety and kind of like the skin is kind of thick, or your groin or your armpits